Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Out in the Hamptons. I'm your host, Michael Jefferies, and this is our Halloween edition. And I can't think of a better guest to introduce our show than the one and only Miss Hope from the fabulous group Secret Highion. Welcome, Hope. We are going to introduce you now to her new release entitled Ginger is Another Word for Love.
We do have soul, right?
Ginger is a word that many people use in the wrong ways, for the wrong reasons too. It may say it with malice, they say it while they drink from their chalice, but I know better than that. I know ginger is a beautiful, beautiful.
Yes, that song is amazing. You know what's amazing about that song is the harmonies and all of the nuances. Can you tell us a little bit how that song came to be?
Yes, I can. I actually, and by the way, thank you for having me here. I should say that I'm so grateful for this time with you.
It's our pleasure.
Same here. Thank you guys all. But to give you a slight background on that song, I don't think I've actually ever been asked this question. When I was kind of going through a big change in my personal life, and I was leaving a partner and all this stuff, I was trying to figure out how to transmute things that were happening in the world, and I figured changing one's vocabulary is good. Inner self-talk, all these other things, and the way that we use words can also change. So I just defined the word ginger in a new way instead of that whole South Park way of gingers are evil. Now we get a glimpse of what if we change the meaning of this slur that's being slung at redheads everywhere. So let's use that word in a way that is uplifting. So I guess I kind of in the lyrics I talk about ginger could mean something else. It could mean dance, it could mean prance, it could mean I've got ants in my pants and that's making me feel happy inside. Those are actual lyrics in the song, and it's a way to show people how to create change about anything that they want to in their lives, even if it's in the definition of words.
I love that universal message.
Thank you.
When I was listening to this song, I might have gotten it wrong. I mean, I guess everyone's open to their interpretation.
You might be right still too. There's a lot too.
Is it from the perspective of a post-relationship where somebody is taught, whether the artist, the singer, you are talking about love can still be kind of harvested?
Well, it's not necessarily talking about only relationship love, but it's talking about possible broken relationships and how can we mend them, and how can we mend, our ability to find the good memories and all this other stuff. And while I'm on that kind of journey myself, and I think we all are at times, having to, will up a better understanding of our own history. In doing that, I'm saying to myself, how can I process this stuff and help other people process what's going on with them? Whether it's a love relationship, a friendship, something that may not have gone well. What words were we using then? Or what words were we receiving? Because you're a transmitter and a receiver. Could you be receiving your messages wrong? Could you be giving out your messages wrong? So maybe changing the definition of certain words inside your heart might help us.
Absolutely. And folks, Ginger is out now. It's their new release. Ginger is another word for love, out everywhere.
Yeah.
All those digital stores that we love to download our music from.
Yes.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this amazing band you're in, Secret Highion.
Yes.
How many members? And let's do a shout out.
Yes, definitely. To all the members, past, present, and future, because you never know what you're gonna get. There's the longest standing member of the band is Victoria Petersack. She is an epic bass player. She plays prog metal bass in a few bands and is just an extremely funny, talented individual herself. She lends to the musicality and the comedy of the thing very, very nicely. Um, which we have comedic aspects. We'll get to that. The Ginger song is like, for the radio, safe for the radio. We also have John Seymour. He's from Nyack. He's a tremendous talent. He comes all the way out here for shows and is what I would call an insatiable comedaholic. By the way, everybody has their secret Ion names. Victoria is Flyon. John is Magic Ion. I'm Highion. And then our fourth member is Pion, also known as Charles Edward Pilata. Everybody calls him Ed, but we call him Pion because he's the golden rule and he keeps everything the magic.
What is he, the drummer?
He is the lead guitar player. I play rhythm guitar and flute and I sing. He plays the lead guitar. Magic Ion is on the drums and Flyon's on the bass. And then we have the coolest,
Yes, I love
loving
it.
super group.
Yeah,
that
shout
I
out,
made.
guys.
Yeah, I love them. My faves.
And I was reading that you guys really have an itinerary of performances coming up. Can you tell us a little about the next show? Or?
Yes, of course. The very next show we are doing is my greatest happy time coming up. It is called the New York State Cannabis and Arts Fest. And we will be having a camp out for 3 days in a place called Mount Vision, New York, ending in Ion, just the way Secret Ion would have it. Hello! Is the best. And we're going to be rocking for 3 days. We'll have other bands out with us. Another band will be playing at Beau's Bar and Green Lawn, of course. We're going to go see them. For some reason, the name escapes me, sadly. I'm sorry, I should have made it cheesy, all the stuff I was supposed to say. But they're wonderful. We're gonna be with a bunch of tremendous bands that weekend. And
Wow, that sounds amazing.
big fest, cannabis everywhere,
Is it open?
rainbow
You
people.
have to get a ticket
You have
somewhere?
to get a
Oh,
ticket. There's Eventbrite tickets. If you go onto my Facebook or my Instagram, you find all that stuff. It's really easy to get to. Insta is Liquid Imagination. Facebook, you can go to Secret Ion and find all of it.
You heard that, folks. Secret Ion.
Mhm.
Download those tickets and be a part of that amazing weekend. That sounds so much fun.
It's a little far, but so if you wanted to stay closer to Long Island, because we go from Manhattan to Montauk all the time, we'll be in Lindenhurst for October 21st with Suburban Decay and Drunken Frankenstein, a very Halloween-y
Oh, nice.
Saturday night. And we love that place. The Village Pub, TC Cross's Village Pub, is a beaut. And all the friends there, Paul Trezza and Mike DeGrucci, a bunch of fam will be there. So we're like punk rock enthusiasts of the natural living heartbeat of the Americas.
Do you do a lot of the writing for the group, or do you all
Yes.
chip in?
Everybody's doing their own parts.
Yeah.
I'm doing the songwriting arrangement, and then everybody dips in with their flavor, and it's a beaut.
Well, speaking of the arrangement
Yes,
on
yes.
Ginger, those harmonies are to
Oh,
die
you were
for.
saying.
Yeah. Did
Appreciate
it take
that.
a long time to figure that beautiful relationship? No, it just came to you. Like,
For some reason, when I was probably 11 years old, when I started writing my first songs, I would sit with a little cassette tape and sing into it, and then I would harmonize with myself and discover I could do something like that. And I never really sat with that talent or idea, creativity until much later in my years to really hone it in. And so when it went to the tracks, I just exploded with happiness because, okay, I finally get to do this for real. Oh, how delightful. I never knew it was going to happen. So it came out like a spring, just gushing natural, pure energy from the soul of my heart. It was beautiful.
yes, making art for folks to discover and enjoy.
Yeah, it's
Um,
the best.
Where can folks go to best learn more about you and your band?
Well, they're gonna go to the social medias for now. I also have a website established on my Facebook. It's a long-winded one to announce over a TV set, but just go to my Facebook, which is my pen name is Jen Woodison. So you can find that site on there. But my real name, for all intents and purposes and friends, is Hope. So yeah. We're doing a bunch of projects too next year to go to Manhattan. We're talking with some folks about reestablishing my burlesque troupe, which is wonderful. It's a traveling burlesque. We stopped right when COVID was happening,
Right.
and I finally feel safe to do it again.
What's the name of your burlesque group?
The Dirty Show.
The Dirty Show sounds
dirtiest-
very marketable.
Oh, it's so good. It's so ready to explode all over your faces. I can't. I love it so much. And we do it from a loving place too. All these things are like, very careful. We're not trying to give you politics. We're not trying to give you religion. We're not trying to give you anything but the true science of sharing happy vibes and increasing the positive levels of the earth together.
Yes, indeed. Wow, we are at the half mark, and you know what that means. Can we get a nice round of applause for the East Hampton Town Crier, Mr. Hugh King?
Thank you. Let me get over there. Okay.
Come on in.
Okay, I'm here.
Welcome.
Have a seat, Mr. King.
Okay.
You can sit right next to our mascot for the day, Boney D, right here.
Do you get paid?
He gets a bone every now and then.
Well, that's okay. That's a payment. That's a payment.
We're so happy you can make it. Folks, if you don't know by now, not only is Hugh King the town crier of East Hampton, but he's also the historian, for many years a teacher and actor, so many things that you have done, accomplishments. But I want to hear a little bit about, since it's a Halloween themed show and you're a historian, can you harken back to maybe a story or two related to East Hampton and some of the more interesting characters that lived here?
Well, I just happen to have this book, Michael.
Did you produce it from magic?
No, my wife did. This is a book about a witchcraft case that took place in East Hampton in 1657.
Oh,
Okay? And this book was published by the East Hampton Library. You can buy the copy at the library. I'm going to tell you part of the story, but I'm not going to tell you how it ended. She'll have to go buy the book.
yes, that's how it works.
All
folks.
right. No, I will.
So this actually happened in our little hamlet of East Hampton.
35 years before Salem.
Did it happen at the Home Sweet Home?
No, it didn't. It
Up to
happened
no
in
good
the
over
home of Arthur Howell, whose wife was Elizabeth Gardner, the wife of
okay.
the daughter of Lion Gardner,
there. Right.
the most prominent man in East Hampton. So in 1657, she died screaming that she was being bewitched. And she named the witch, okay?
Oh, okay.
She named the witch. Now, people will call good wife and goodman. Like instead of Mr. and Mrs., it was good wife. So
Right.
they shortened it to Goody. So her name is Goody Garlic, but that's not her name, that's her title, Goody Garlic.
Oh, okay. Did
So
she grow
named
garlic?
Elizabeth Garlic as bewitching her. The magistrates in East Hampton go, we don't want anything to do with this case, so they sent it to Connecticut because we were under their jurisdiction. So there was a trial in Connecticut.
Oh, so they shipped the lady out to Connecticut.
And the witnesses over to Connecticut. There was a trial, and then Elizabeth Garlic was sent back, deemed not guilty.
was
highly
was it a
unusual.
close call for her? I mean, she's...
We don't know. We don't know what.
got out of it.
She got that.
Well, we don't know what happened at the trial. All we know is the result, and
Okay.
the result was that she was not guilty. But the judge, John Winthrop Jr., told everybody in East Hampton, "We're going to send her back. Didn't think she was guilty, but you were right to suspect her. So we want you all to get along."
Oh my God, I would have been like burned at the stake if I was alive back then.
I
Jesus.
also would, honestly.
Well, it's amazing. It's
You could
amazing
just-
that number one that she wasn't deemed guilty, but then
Yeah.
she came back to East Hampton. But if you were
And
accused
became the
of
mayor.
well, no, but if you were accused of witchcraft, and even if you were exonerated, you usually had to leave town. I mean,
Right.
Yeah. They stayed here and they
So
prospered.
let's think about that for a second. So back in the 1600s, this was probably mostly farming and fishing, would you say, for
Raising
livelihoods?
animals, raising animals, that's what they did here in early East Hampton.
I mean,
Going
is there
forward.
any clue why they would have, why that lady would have had a kind of like accusing attitude towards the poor Miss Garlic?
You know what happened? Women were healers, pretty much women were healers years ago.
Still
Well,
are.
wait a minute now.
Yes.
So if you gave some medicine to someone and then they died,
Oh,
you get blamed. But look at this, there's another part of that. Suppose this woman did give medicine to someone and they got better. Well, how do you know that? How could you do that? Because only the priest and the church was supposed to, God was supposed to heal. This woman is saying she's healing someone, so you were suspect no matter what.
yeah. Well, what if she had an affair with the husband and she just wanted to get back at her? Or
Oh, you're so
This
scandalous.
is 1657, not 2023, Michael.
I mean, I
What
just
show?
feel
What's
like,
the name of this show? Yeah, yeah, ring the bell. That one's over. Yeah.
I'm sure stuff like that
Oh
must
my
have gone on.
gosh. No, but seriously, the problem with these witchcraft accusations, of course, is why did they accuse these people? How could they do that?
Yeah.
How could they hang people? How could they burn them at the stake? They had to dehumanize them. They're not like us, so we can do this to them. Guess what, folks? Aren't we doing some of that today? To
I
different
mean-
parts of our community?
That's kids' play compared to what's happening now.
Well, I don't know about that. Your fingernails aren't torn out, and you're not burned at the stake. But people are dehumanized today, and so that means you can treat them poorly.
Well,
And
we're
that's why
run
the
by reptilian overlords, so I totally get it.
reptilian overlord.
I'm sorry, it's a conspiracy theory.
What
Okay.
century are we in?
No, I'm kidding.
I'm telling you, I'm just glad she wasn't in the 60s.
Oh no, I'll totally get burnt, man. They wouldn't even let me
Well,
through the door.
what's that other technique where they sink you with a stone in your dress or something?
No, the dunking, you get in the stool and they dunk you in the water. If you go down and you come up again, you're guilty. If you sink and you don't come up, then you're innocent.
Well, that does
Well,
no
now
good,
you're
does it?
dead.
Unless you
So
can
it
hold your
didn't work.
breath for 5 minutes.
Yeah, it didn't work. We don't know what, supposedly, there's so many stories about the witchcraft case here in East Hampton that were wrong. So that's why Loretta's book, my wife Loretta's book was so important. And
Yes.
the library was good enough to publish it.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, the East Hampton
I
Library.
want to read this book
And you can get it at the library.
at the library,
At the
at East
library.
Hampton Library.
I think it's on Amazon too.
Maybe Miss Garlic went on to dump some pudding down a hill in the future.
No, wait a minute, that's another story.
What?
Where did you get that idea? The Pudding Hill story?
Maybe they're the same person.
Oh, Michael, no.
You're putting me on.
I think she just
Right.
wanted to have a little, pizzazz in her life.
Michael is really stretching the truth.
Okay, different decade.
Well, that story may not be true either,
Oh.
it just sounds good, right?
That's when the English invaded, or
The English occupied our East Hampton during the American Revolution. East Hampton was pretty much occupied by the English.
wow, that's
Most of
interesting.
Long Island was, I think,
Yeah.
right?
All of it
What
is.
about East Hampton history fascinates you most? Like, what would make your top 10 lists?
Well, unfortunately, some of it's not so great. There's two things that have come up recently that we need to focus on. East Hampton was settled in 1648. No, it wasn't. The Montaukets were here already.
Oh,
Okay, so when the English people came, there was a settlement here of Montaukett Indians, okay? But here's the other thing we're finding out. There's a project called the Plain Sight Project. And what they've done is they documented enslaved people who lived in East Hampton or in the surrounding area. And they have like 400 or 500 names of enslaved people who were here in East Hampton.
Ooh.
Yes, up until before or after the Civil War. And you know why? It changes the narrative. There's a story that says Josiah Hobart built the Mulford House. No, he didn't. He had it built. Well, who built it? Who brought the lumber? Huh? Who cut it? Probably enslaved people.
so I thought New York was a no-slave state. How would they have
No,
gone?
no, New York was one of the largest slave states in the North. Now, we didn't have plantations here like you have in the South. The enslaved people lived usually in the same house with their owners.
Oh, was that called something like an indentured slave?
Well, we had indentured people too, yes, that's another form of slavery, it
Yeah.
didn't say slavery, right.
I don't remember this in your social studies class.
That's because you weren't paying attention.
Is
No,
this your social
no.
studies teacher? That's so
Way
cute.
back,
Oh, I
used to
love
teach
that.
spring school social studies.
We used to have history, right, the history of
Yeah.
spring, did you take the history of spring?
I think so. I would have to think about that.
What
We
year
only
did you
have 7
graduate,
minutes left.
1807? When did
16.
Oh, me too.
Are you older, you're older than your two sisters?
No, I'm the middle child. So let's see, 1980. 1980.
Well, were we teaching Springs history in 1980? I don't know.
Mrs. Philly was there.
And she was a social studies teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think we taught Springs history until I retired.
Shout out to Mrs. Philly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think after I retired, I came back and went to the 5th grade.
Okay.
Talked about Springs history.
Yeah.
And guess what? They're doing it again at the Springs School. Ray Artusiak and another gentleman are teaching Springs history to the kids.
Oh, good. Yeah, there's I mean, I love history. I would love to get back into it. We just have a few minutes left. I wanted to get into segue from the unfortunate chapter of slavery in East
Right,
End, which is
okay.
shocking to me, to you do tours here in East Hampton that people can participate in.
And guess what tour they like to do in October? The
The
cemetery. There are going to be 2 tours of the South End Cemetery. The South End Cemetery is the one by Town Pond.
yeah,
October 6th and October 13th. Go on the East Hampton Historical Site website. It'll tell you what time, and I think they'll want you to register to take the tour. Because that cemetery is filled with lots of stories. Lots of stories about East Hampton, and even in the whole country. You know, a son of a president of the United States is buried in the South End Cemetery.
yeah. I remember as a child, isn't Mr. Gardner buried in the cemetery?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
this is one of the more spectacular monuments.
Yeah.
That was put up in 1886, though. It wasn't there in the beginning. You know, there are people buried in that cemetery. Maybe even Goody Garlic could be buried in that cemetery, but we don't know.
You don't know her real
Well,
name?
they used to put cedar posts up, and then
Oh.
they've all rotted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that'd
Years
be
ago.
great. That's too bad.
You ever hear bells ringing in the ground when you walk through there?
The cemetery tour is not ghosts and goblins, Michael. It's history. It's history and herstory.
Thank you.
And herstory too,
Thank
yes,
you
absolutely.
So.
Yeah.
Aw, it's all our story, isn't it?
So you are the official town crier of East Hampton. Can you tell us what your role is?
Well, initially, my job was to go to different organizations and talk about local history. Go to the Lions Club and talk about something. I go to all the town board meetings, and at the beginning of the meeting, I talk a little bit about East Hampton history. I go to the village board meetings.
Do you ring the bell in the beginning?
Sometimes I go as the town crier, but sometimes I go as the town historian. So I don't ring the bell.
Yeah.
But you know what else I was doing in the East Hampton Town Board? I've been giving them assignments. And then at the next meeting, they report on them. So they've been doing historical reports all year.
Yeah.
The town board.
I think it's really important to keep the history of the town, shared with generation to generation so it doesn't get
And
lost.
maybe we can get rid of that awful term, the Hamptons.
Yes.
The
And I don't know if
love you
Billy
so
Drew is
much.
watching, but
Who's watching?
if Billy Drew is watching, this will like one of his pet peeves, Springs or the Springs.
Doesn't make any difference. Both are correct.
Okay. Oh, he would.
Both
all
are
right.
Yeah.
correct.
Well, now he's
That's
Martin
so
Drew. He's not
interesting.
Billy
Yes,
Drew anymore.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all right. It's the Springs. You can see it in the records. Sometimes it's the Springs.
Oh, it just
Sometimes
depends.
it's Springs.
Yeah.
I love knowing things like that, actually. Those are interchangeable. As wonderful linguist in me is happy.
So where did you go to school? You went to
Springs in East Hampton High School.
see Spring. He didn't say the Spring.
he
See, you said
didn't.
Spring
Yeah.
School. So
Anyway.
it depends. It's okay. Either one is correct. Okay, Bill.
So is all well in East Hampton?
Well, yeah, because it's after Labor Day, so it's a lot quieter. Isn't it a lot quieter?
It is. It was easy, like you commuted from Up Island.
Yeah, it was a bit of a ways, but you know what? It was lovely driving here. There's no
Weather's nice.
trade parade trying to get in the way of my getting toward the waves. It was gorgeous. Lovely drive. Love ya.
Yes, you can enjoy it now, whereas during the summer it's just a nightmare.
September is one of the nicest times of the year. Don't tell everybody 'cause they'll start coming
No,
out.
I don't
then.
tell
Well, we just did on television,
Oh,
but that's
great. Now they're all
okay.
coming
Ignore that, ignore that. September's terrible. Oh, don't come here then.
Well, folks, here it is the book. You can get it at the East Hampton Library.
Yeah, we'll go on Amazon.
It has a
You can get
long
too.
title. If it were.
But it's a short book, so it's a long title. It's
Long
okay.
title.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The title.
And that's so
wraps
cool that your wife is participating in the history of East Hampton with you. And
She did, yeah, right, she did.
around.
so we have a minute left. If you want all the young kids to know one thing about the history of East Hampton, this was like the only time you could say something. Anything come to mind? Like what do we want folks to take away from?
Well, some of the reasons that we are here today is what happened yesterday. You know, if you look at a painting from 1850 of the beaches, guess what? It looks pretty much the same. We've been able to save so
That's true.
much of it,
Yes.
and we have to keep doing that.
That's
So,
right,
that's
because it's very easy for that to get away from the town. I mean, if you look at how other parts of Long Island were developed,
Exactly.
it's a treasure, really. Where I work at, at the Maidstone Club during the summer, it's beautiful, that beach, that stretch of beach,
Yeah,
untouched.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
This is for you.
Oh,
Being
good, that's a
awesome.
great way to end.
There you go.
We each get this, your band sticker.
It's our merch. We actually have merch. It's
And
amazing.
let's reiterate, folks, if you want to learn more about Secret Ion, go to your Facebook social media.
Right, Secret Ion it has on there, or you go to Instagram, Liquid Imagination.
Fabulous.
Hey.
Yeah, right, folks. A nice round of applause from our guests today, and we are so happy you were able to join us, Mr. Hugh King and Hope from the group
There we go.
Secret Ion.
I just wanted to say that it really irritates me. South Park would say that red-haired people don't have souls, okay? Because we do have souls, alright?
Ginger is a word that many people